Nathan Caldwell was a man defined by ambition, ruthless calculation, and a hunger for power. As the formidable CEO of Caldwell Enterprises, his name had become synonymous with success and cold determination. On a crisp autumn night in Manhattan, the air around the exclusive dimly lit club vibrated with whispered deals and the clink of expensive glassware. In this elite setting, where fortunes were both made and lost, Nathan found himself locked in a silent war of pride and rivalry with Victor Harrington, a man whose suave confidence matched Nathan's own reputation for severity. Over sleek cigars and rare vintage scotch, Victor issued a challenge that seemed absurd even to someone as seasoned as Nathan. "If you can manage the impossible," Victor smirked, his eyes glinting with mischief, "marry a woman from a world completely unlike yours, a pregnant widow struggling to raise 7 children, and remain by her side for a year, I'll hand you a coveted 10% stake in Harrington Oil. Something tells me you thrive on risk, Nathan. What do you say?" The proposal, as shocking as it was audacious, sent a thrill through Nathan's veins. It was not merely a business wager, it was a test of his control, his capacity to immerse himself in chaos, and perhaps, to confront a part of his own humanity he had long locked away. With the echo of clinking glasses and murmured affirmations around him, Nathan's mind raced. The promise of an influential asset, the lure of conquering the uncharted, and the chance to outdo his rival. In that moment, with his heart pounding and a trace of a challenge lighting his eyes, Nathan accepted the bet. He was unaware then that this decision would unravel the very fabric of his carefully constructed world. On the outskirts of the city, in a modest neighborhood where hope struggled beneath the weight of hardship, lived Emily Carter, a woman whose gentle resilience belied the storm of challenges that marked her everyday life. Recently widowed and pregnant once more, Emily was the steadfast heart of her family. Her 7 children, Lucas, the protective eldest son, Sophie, a caring and determined daughter, and the rest, Jake, Ben, Mia, Oliver, and little Chloe, relied on her for guidance, comfort, and survival amid relentless financial strain. Their small, cramped apartment was filled with love, but shadowed by the constant anxiety of overdue bills and unfulfilled dreams. One seemingly ordinary afternoon, as Emily balanced a long shift at a local diner with the needs of her children, an unexpected knock came at the door. There stood Nathan Caldwell, his tailored suit and imposing presence a stark contrast to the modest surroundings. With measured politeness and an edge of cold determination, he introduced himself and laid out an offer that defied every convention of her battered reality. "Mrs. Carter," he began, his voice even and deliberate, "I'm in need of a temporary arrangement, a marriage lasting 1 year, that will provide you and your children with the financial security you so desperately need. In return, I will receive certain assurances." Emily's heart thundered. The proposal was surreal, a union orchestrated not by love or necessity but by a high-stakes bet between titans of industry. That night, as the moon traced silent paths across the city, Emily sat awake, wrestling with despair and the faint glimmer of hope the offer presented. Could this bizarre alliance be the lifeline her family needed? With rent bills piling up and her children's futures uncertain, she weighed the risks against the possibility of relief. In whispered conversations with Lucas, whose protective instincts were matched only by his quiet maturity, and in the silent tears that stained her pillow, Emily resolved that for the sake of her children, she must embrace the unknown. The next morning, with trembling resolve and the heavy burden of responsibility, she consented to the arrangement, an act of desperate courage that would forever alter the course of her life. The day after their fateful agreement, a sleek black luxury SUV pulled up outside the dilapidated building that had been Emily's refuge for years. For Emily and her children, the journey to Nathan's estate felt surreal, a passage from a life defined by struggle into a realm of opulence and uncertainty. As they stepped into the vehicle, the children's eyes widened with a mixture of awe and apprehension at the plush interiors and the promise of a different future. Nathan's mansion loomed in the distance, an imposing fortress of glass and marble that seemed to belong to another universe entirely. When the SUV finally halted before the grand entrance, the stark contrast between their past and the present was undeniable. Emily, wrapped in a coat too elegant for her modest origins, led her children inside. The sprawling foyer was filled with soft lighting, intricate sculptures, and walls adorned with priceless art, a silent testament to wealth and legacy. Yet, amidst all the grandeur, there was a palpable chill, a sense of detachment that seemed to emanate from Nathan himself, who regarded this entire process as just another calculated move in his ongoing game. As the family toured the mansion, every detail struck them as both breathtaking and intimidating. The children, accustomed to the cramped coziness of their old home, now wandered through vast hallways and enormous rooms, their excitement mingling with an underlying unease. In that moment, it became painfully clear that the journey ahead was not only one of material transition, but also one of emotional and personal transformation, a journey where hearts and worlds would collide.
Wie tin se Kevernaus auf se Mansion, se Kollision auf two disparate volts gré inevitable.
Emily's family, with its chaotic symphony of laughter, tears, and endless demands, found itself at odds with Nathan's meticulously ordered existence. Every morning, as the sun broke over the horizon, the house would come alive with the boisterous energy of 7 children. Their voices, a blend of hope and mischief, echoed through the corridors, an unstructured counterpoint to the sterile silence that Nathan had long cultivated. Lucas, the eldest, emerged as a reluctant guardian of his family's honor. Ever watchful, he was quick to scrutinize every gesture from Nathan, perceiving the newcomer's cool indifference as a threat to their tightly knit bond. In the grand dining hall, where the first family dinner had been arranged, tension simmered beneath polite conversation. Nathan's attempts to instill order were met with rebellion, a spilled glass here, a whispered protest there. Every clink of silverware against porcelain became a reminder of the gulf between the world of calculated power and the raw, untamed emotion of a family that had weathered life's storms. Nathan himself was unprepared for the unpredictable cadence of domestic life. Accustomed to the rhythm of board meetings and market strategies, he found the incessant demands, the unscripted laughter, and even the tears of the children an enigma he could neither calculate nor control. In his heart, he had once believed that life could be tamed by money and logic, yet here in the midst of vibrant chaos, he was forced to confront the messy unpredictability of genuine human connection. As days turned into weeks, the initial novelty of the arrangement gave way to the slow, dawning realization that nothing was as simple as it seemed. Nathan, with his steely resolve and unwavering ambition, began to notice subtleties that unsettled his long-held beliefs. Emily, far from the fragile, dependent woman he had expected, revealed herself to be a force of nature. In the quiet hours of early morning, as she rose to tend to the needs of her children, there was a steely determination in her eyes, a silent promise that she would not be defined by her circumstances. Meanwhile, Emily too began to glimpse the vulnerabilities hidden behind Nathan's polished exterior. Late at night, when the mansion was silent and the weight of solitude pressed upon him, she sensed a profound loneliness in his guarded demeanor. The man who had once exuded unshakable confidence now appeared as someone burdened by regrets and lost chances, a man whose heart was encased in ice, yet still capable of warmth when least expected. This growing mutual awareness, though unspoken, began to blur the lines of their initial roles. Nathan's fascination with Emily's resilience was tinged with an unsettling mix of admiration and frustration, while Emily's hardened exterior softened ever so slightly in the face of Nathan's unexpected moments of tenderness. Their interactions, though fraught with tension, hinted at the possibility of transformation, a slow, unsteady dance toward understanding that neither had anticipated. Reluctantly, Nathan found himself drawn into the intimate rhythms of Emily's family life, a world he had long dismissed as chaotic and burdensome. In the sprawling corridors of his mansion, the lives of 7 children unfolded in vivid, unrestrained color. Lucas, with eyes sharp and wary, took it upon himself to guard his family's honor, constantly questioning Nathan's every move. Sophie, the eldest daughter with a quiet strength, sought approval in subtle glances and gentle smiles, while Jake and Ben, energetic and curious, treated Nathan as both an enigma and a role model. Young Mia and Oliver, with their innocent wonder, saw in him a figure of authority whose every word was worth emulating, and little Chloe, with her unfiltered affection, would dart into his arms at the slightest sign of kindness. Each day, as Nathan attempted to assert control over the sprawling mansion, he found that the unpredictable demands of the children chipped away at his carefully constructed armor. What began as a contractual obligation gradually morphed into a series of small, unplanned moments. A scraped knee tended with unexpected gentleness, a spontaneous game of hide-and-seek in the garden, or a quiet evening when the children gathered around him for a story. Despite his inner reluctance, these moments stirred something unfamiliar inside him, a burgeoning sense of responsibility and, dare he admit, affection. The tension reached its peak during one particularly stormy evening. Lucas, ever the vigilant sentinel, confronted Nathan in a heated exchange by the fireplace. "I won't let you hurt Mom," Lucas declared, voice trembling with a mix of fear and defiance. In that charged moment, Nathan realized that this was not merely about fulfilling a bet, it was about protecting the fragile hope that had begun to blossom within this unconventional family. Though his words were few and his responses guarded, Nathan's eyes betrayed a conflicted resolve. He was slowly, irrevocably, becoming part of a family he had never wanted, yet could no longer imagine living without. In the dim light of a cold winter night, A single act of quiet heroism ignited the first spark of genuine transformation in Nathan's heart. He had been passing through the servants' corridor when he caught a glimpse of Emily, her silhouette bent over a small worn sewing machine in the attic. There, amid a scattering of faded fabrics and threadbare patterns, she was meticulously mending a pair of trousers for one of the children. Her delicate fingers moved with practiced precision, but more striking was the aura of dignified pride and stubborn self-reliance that radiated from her despite her hardships.
Vor a Moment, Nathans hardenet exterior krekt.
In that silent tableau of domestic determination, he saw not a fragile widow, but a warrior of everyday life, fighting battles unseen, bearing wounds inflicted by life's relentless trials. Overwhelmed by an unfamiliar mixture of pity, admiration, and something deeper he could scarcely name, he retreated to his study with a plan forming in his mind. Without a word to anyone, Nathan set about orchestrating a quiet revolution. Over the following days, he discreetly arranged for new, vibrant clothing, sturdy shoes, and all the school supplies the children would need. When the packages arrived at the mansion, wrapped in tasteful paper and accompanied by a handwritten note, they stirred a ripple of surprise and tentative hope throughout the household. Emily's initial reaction was one of fury. She felt insulted by what seemed like a well-meaning intrusion into her hard-fought independence. Yet, as the shock subsided, a reluctant gratitude began to bloom in the depths of her heart. In that moment, a fragile truce was forged, one built not on contractual obligations, but on the quiet transformative power of kindness. Just as tentative harmony began to take root, fate delivered a blow that shattered the fragile peace. One afternoon, while accompanying the children to a small neighborhood market, Emily's ears caught an all-too-familiar conversation, a casual gossip that spoke of Nathan's marriage as nothing more than a wager. Two impeccably dressed socialites, their voices laced with amusement and disdain, discussed how the union was orchestrated as a mere bet, a game for the powerful to prove their mettle.
For Emily, the wird struck like scherz auf Eis.
The illusion of a safe haven she had so desperately clung to crumbled in an instant. With her heart pounding in betrayal and her eyes stinging with unshed tears, she demanded answers. That evening, as the mansion's corridors echoed with a heavy silence, she confronted Nathan in the privacy of the drawing room. "Is it true?" she asked, voice trembling between anger and sorrow. "Was our marriage nothing but a bet, a cruel game to be played at someone's whim?" Nathan's response was hesitant, a faltering confession marred by regret. His silence, his inability to fully articulate the complexity of his own feelings, confirmed everything Emily feared. The betrayal cut deep. The foundation of trust they had painstakingly built was shattered in a single irretrievable moment. Devastated, Emily gathered her children and left the mansion that night, the sound of their footsteps echoing in Nathan's desolate halls, a painful reminder that sometimes, the cost of winning a bet is far greater than any prize could ever be. In the aftermath of Emily's departure, Nathan found himself alone amid the cold opulence of his vast mansion. The silence of empty corridors was deafening, each echo a reminder of the life he had jeopardized in pursuit of a game. Days turned into long solitary nights, and Nathan wandered through his own home as if it were a prison, a monument to a victory that now felt hollow. He sat in his study, staring at the walls lined with accolades and awards, and questioned the very nature of his ambitions. The lucrative deal with Harrington Oil, once a tantalizing prize, now seemed inconsequential compared to the warmth and laughter that had filled his life. His mind replayed the moments of tenderness he had stolen, a soft smile from a child, a quiet moment of shared understanding, and the realization dawned that what he truly valued was not the accumulation of wealth, but the fragile human connections he had nearly lost forever. Haunted by regret, Nathan struggled with a decision. Should he continue on his path of self-interest and reclaim his world of calculated power, or dare he risk everything to salvage the love and warmth that had begun to infiltrate his cold existence? In the echoing emptiness of that night, he recognized that his greatest loss was not a business deal or a fleeting moment of pride, but the chance to be part of something real, a family, a home, and a life filled with genuine emotion. The price of winning, he realized, was the shattering of his own heart. The path to redemption is often steeped in sacrifice and courage, and for Nathan Caldwell, the road ahead demanded nothing less. With a resolve that surprised even himself, he began to dismantle the very empire he had spent years building. In a move that shocked the financial world, he sold Caldwell Enterprises, a symbolic severance from the life that had defined him, and dedicated himself to atonement. Nathan poured his resources into causes that resonated with the echoes of his lost humanity. He funded community centers, donated generously to organizations supporting single mothers, and established scholarships to empower those who had once been marginalized by fate. In particular, he invested in a new community center in the very neighborhood Emily had called home, a gesture meant to signal his sincere commitment to making a difference beyond the realm of business. Yet, none of these acts could fill the void left by Emily's absence. Each charitable endeavor was a step on his long journey toward self-forgiveness, but the ultimate act of redemption lay in confronting the woman he had wronged. Driven by the aching need to make amends, Nathan set out to find Emily, not as a conqueror reclaiming a prize, but as a man humbled by loss, desperate to prove that his transformation was genuine. With every step, he realized that redemption was not merely about grand gestures, but about the willingness to accept responsibility and to fight for love in its most unadulterated form. Nathan's return to Emily's world was fraught with uncertainty and guarded hope. He began by showing up quietly where her children gathered, in school plays, soccer games, and community events, ever determined to demonstrate that he was no longer the detached millionaire of old. Each interaction was a small act of courage, a supportive word offered to Lucas when he faltered, a gentle smile shared with Sophie as she navigated the challenges of adolescence, and countless unspoken moments where the children began to see him as more than just an intruder in their lives. For Emily, the journey toward forgiveness was not instantaneous. Every encounter with Nathan was a reminder of her heartbreak, a challenge to trust again in the face of old wounds. Yet, as weeks melted into months, subtle changes emerged. Nathan's consistent presence, his willingness to shoulder responsibilities without expectation of reward, gradually began to chip away at the walls Emily had built around her heart. Even Lucas, ever the vigilant protector, started to acknowledge the sincerity behind Nathan's efforts, though his eyes still held cautious glimmers of distrust. Their conversations, once terse and laden with unspoken accusations, evolved into tentative dialogues where past hurts were met with honest apologies and measured promises for the future. In these fragile exchanges, both Nathan and Emily came to understand that the hard road to forgiveness was not paved with perfection, but with perseverance, vulnerability, and the willingness to risk once more the possibility of love. A year after the fateful bet that had upended their lives, the mansion that once echoed with emptiness now resonated with the warmth of a true home. In a sunlit courtyard bursting with flowers and laughter, Nathan and Emily stood side by side, not as reluctant partners bound by a contract, but as equals in a family they had forged together through trials, tears, and the slow, steady bloom of redemption. The transformation was evident in every detail. The children's radiant smiles as they played under the gentle watch of a now softened Nathan, the shared glances between him and Emily that spoke of a deep understanding born of pain and perseverance, and the undeniable sense of belonging that had replaced the cold isolation of the past. In that moment, amidst the vibrant hum of life, Nathan recognized that his greatest victory was not measured in percentages or financial gains, but in the embrace of a love that had weathered the fiercest storms. As twilight descended and the family gathered for an impromptu dinner on the patio, stories shared, laughter echoing, and hearts unburdened, Nathan allowed himself a quiet moment of reflection. He had gambled with fate and, against all odds, discovered that the most precious risk was the one that opened his heart to forgiveness and connection. The journey had been long, painful, and fraught with setbacks, yet here, in the glow of a new beginning, he understood that life's true wealth lay in the bonds we nurture and the love we dare to embrace. In the end, the journey of Nathan and Emily was far more than a wager. It was a profound odyssey of transformation, forgiveness, and the enduring power of love. Their union, initially forged through a reckless bet, gradually evolved into a living testament to the capacity for change that lies within every heart, no matter how guarded or hardened it may seem. Every trial they faced, every tear shed, and every moment of quiet redemption became a stepping stone toward a deeper understanding of what it truly means to care for another. The cold, impersonal world of high finance gave way to the warmth of shared laughter and the simple joys of family life. In the glow of a reawakened home, where every corner echoed with hope and renewed purpose, Nathan and Emily discovered that the richest victories are those of the spirit, attained when vulnerability and compassion lead the way. Their story serves as a beacon of hope, reminding us that even the most unlikely alliances can yield extraordinary love, and that the greatest gamble of all is to open one's heart to the possibility of change. United in their newfound understanding, they stepped forward together into a future where every challenge was met as a team, and every moment was an opportunity to build a life defined by genuine connection.